All right. What you got, son? What kind of questions you got?
All right. First question. How many questions am I allotted?
As many as you want.
Okay. 20 plus. No. What made you want to start a podcast?
A bunch of people have asked me, like, the pandemic's happening. We can't do very much. I'm getting old. And I just wrote this on like a post the other day. It's kind of this way to get people to come party at my house and hang out with me and talk, which was what I would do if I would go out to a bar, except I don't have to leave. And then I get to like dress up, which I love to do. And then I get to wear fancy sneakers, but then I don't have to worry about putting miles on them because we're sitting the whole time. And so it's like I get to dress up. It's a party. I get to talk to people, and I don't have to leave my house. You know what I mean?
So I should start one, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Isn't that why everybody starts a podcast, so they can party with their friends, so they don't have to leave?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been asked to start a podcast for years, and I've been nervous to. So I may end up taking that leap in the near future, and we'll be calling you.
That's fine.
If that happens. You might have to be guest number one.
That's fine. I would repay the favor.
All right.
I don't know what the fuck I don't know what we're gonna talk about. I'll talk about anything. Just whether I really know what I'm talking about is more of the question.
Like, I was gonna say like physical chemist kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night.
That's not true. That I know of, at least.
I stayed at a nicer place than a Holiday Inn Express.
You think so? Even with the kid screaming?
So the whole time I've been here, y'all have this is what every parent does, is apologize for the kids being kids. But there's this weird appreciation that I'm having being at your home at the age she's in, and it only being y'all three. So there's not like more kids at this point or whatever. Right. And she's a girl and I have a daughter, and remembering all those things. And then I have, I had texted Aaron, I was like, I'm kind of homesick, not because I miss what y'all are doing in front of me. And it makes me appreciate my daughter more and go like, oh man, I remember that time. And I remember how hard that was. Your kids screaming, you don't know what to do. And you're just kind of like, well, just let her scream it out. You know what I mean? And I remember all that. And so it's very much an appreciation. So yeah, you can't get that at Holiday Inn.
You're right. You can't.
Yes, front desk. Yeah. I haven't got my screaming kid yet. Is that on its way? I ordered it 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I hear down the hallway they have one already. How they get theirs before mine?
They brought theirs with them.
They probably brought their own for home.
What I'll say from my perspective with that is you've been amazing with Harper, and it shows who you are as a dad too, because I can see your care and who you are when you're with Harper, and it's pretty cool to see. Not that you're parenting Harper, but I can see who you are to Lucy at the same time.
I could go into real deep into this, but I feel like a lot of times we don't do enough as parents to make sure our kids feel safe. And I don't mean protect them from bad things that are happening. I mean your presence with them and your calmness with them, because if you're anxious, they're gonna pick up anxious. And so to bring a calm to hey, everything's okay, we can, to talk to them on a level of we're in this together, and we started that from a very young age, hey, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We didn't say that out loud, but that's the attitude that Erin and I took. Now, how much does her vote count on anything? It's probably less than ours. You know what I mean? It's probably like a 40-40-20 split.
Right.
But she has a vote, and she's learning how to vote, and she's learning how to have a voice, which I want her to have as a girl and as a human and as a person. And
that's actually the book that Harper asked me to read to her. I don't know if you've heard me reading when she asked me to read, but it's a book called My Voice is a Superpower. Yeah.
I think we've actually read that book. Maybe. my girlfriend, I tell this to everybody, has this beautiful balance. I feel like Toby kind of has this too, of being a woman, and then like being a human, and not going, well, like, I'm a woman, so I don't do that. Because a lot of humans do we all do same things. You know what I mean? And like, that shows through in your parenting, and what is happening with Harper, and like how she acts, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And my girlfriend has that, like, you know, she understands me on a human level. She understands me that as a male, and she understands that, like, there's things she wants to do as a female in the role of our relationships that are important to her, that might be viewed as like traditional or,
Right.
you know, chauvinistic or whatever. But like, also what about what makes her feel complete? And the example it sets for my daughter, the balance of, you can be, because my girlfriend doesn't put up with anything. You know what I mean? And she's also like very excited to always make dinner. She always wants to make dinner. And I just think it's this beautiful balance that she's showing my daughter. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just
how you can be who you want to be as male, female, whatever, right? And still live in this world of the society we're in, and be a career person, but cook the dinner at home and take passion in nurturing the family.
I had one of my friends say to me, like, he hasn't known me very long, and he was like, man, he goes, like, you're just ill. Like, and I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, you know, like, when I first met you, I thought you're like this hippie dude, you know, like doing like hippie stuff, whatever, but you're like into rap, and then you do all this creative stuff or whatever. And I'm like, when I hear him say, I'm all these different things, but I'm this one thing, like, that is me being the most authentic. That's all the things are what make me me. Right? Doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt anybody else. Don't have to be apologetic about it. That's like who I'm going to be. And I think a lot of times where people get like upset, or when someone challenges your authenticity, and either A, you're suffering from imposter syndrome and you don't believe it, or B, you're not being authentic, then you're mad. Then you're kind of upset. And like, I don't ever have to worry about that, because who I'm being is exactly who I can explain everything that I do. It's like, you know,
Right.
But like, you also have to take the time and investment into yourself to get those things. Because like, I can't do it for you.
Right.
I'm too busy tending my shit. You know, that's like when my daughter's like, hey, can you do this for me? I go, okay, this is the best example. She'll go, we're brushing our teeth together. And she'll go, can you brush my teeth? I'm like, I'm brushing my teeth. If I'm brushing your teeth, who's brushing my teeth?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know. I was like, I don't know either. So you better brush your teeth and I'll brush my teeth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, getting her to understand that, like, you are responsible for you. I am responsible for me. And when you put the responsibility of you in somebody else's hands, even when it comes to personal identity, things that you think about yourself, then there's going to be an issue for you probably. But you're the only one that can solve that shit.
Right.
Get to work. I don't tell you.
All right. So we're talking about parenting a little bit.
Yeah.
Question number 2. What is your...
Are we only on 2? I thought...
Yeah, I mean, we just had sub-questions.
Yeah.
That was like 1A, B, C through
Fair.
M. Question 2 is, as a parent, what is your biggest life lesson that you've learned since Lucy's entered this world?
Hands down, if you want to judge how good of a parent you are, it all comes down to how selfless you want to be. And I don't mean selfless in the sense of sacrifice, like you're sacrificing yourself for your child. How selfless do you want to be for their needs that they cannot attain on their own because they are too small or don't understand or whatever it is, right? So it's like the example of like, you know, like, this is, your daughter's crying, you're asleep. Are you gonna get out of your bed or are you not? Are you gonna go check on her or you're not? I'm too tired. Okay. I think I would go check on her just for shits and giggles, just because I just want to go ahead and just check that off the box to go, I did. But you have to make all those decisions all the time about those things and how selfish you want to be. And when we talked about like guilt around taking time for ourselves, like I suffer from that too, of like feeling guilty about sometimes we'll say Aaron's like sick. We'll say Lucy and Aaron are sick, right? And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do here. Like they're both sick. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna go to the gym. So I go to the gym, and there 30 minutes, an hour, and I'm just like, they're both sick at home. You should be doing things for them to take care of them. And they're probably at home sleeping. You should be doing things for them, and I'm just like at the gym working out. But then I go, there's not really anything you can do at home. Mm-hmm. You might as well work out and then try to be better when you come home for them because they are sick. Mm-hmm. And trying to reframe the idea of selfishness and selflessness, mm-hmm. and what those two things actually are. And it's on your moral judgment scale. I can't give you mine. You have to decide what your moral judgment is on what those things are.
Yeah.
You know, like when you were like, man, like, I'm gonna go skiing for a day. I was like, I've been gone since Thursday. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like, you know, like, but I feel that, like, but I'm also like, I'm always telling my girlfriend how grateful I am that I have this opportunity. Cause this, you know, the podcast doesn't make like any money or anything. She's let me go do this thing for free. Mm-hmm. You know, it's aiding to us, but it's not aiding to us in that, right. You know, and so like, I always make sure, and Anna, by the way, like I'll do it a lot of times in text. I go, hey, I'm just so grateful, blah, blah, blah. She never responds. She never says anything. You know what I mean? But like, I know that the words are said, and I know that if she reads it, she hears my voice in her ears saying that I'm grateful. And I say that to her in person a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's just that constant reminder that like, I am not unaware of how great it is that you allow me to do this, that I get a chance to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did that answer the question?
You did.
Okay.
Like 3 times over. That's great.
That's how I roll.
All right. You changed the branding from episode 1 to now. It was a moderately good podcast, and it has become Just Be, yes. Scottie G. What was the X factor deciding to change that, and why did it become Just Be? Like you asked me about Prime 360. What was the start of that? How did it become Just Be?
I had started my podcast based on what I was doing as a life coach at that moment. So my life coaching was called, or my coaching was called Life Moderated, the idea of moderation of everything, which I still is what I preach, but it's just like, I don't call it that. And then so I was like, well, you know, I'll just do this moderately good podcast. Not great. It's just like right there in the middle, like just right where you need to be about everything, you know? And so we do. And then at some point, the Just Be thing came from, I had this therapist one time, and I remember I went into a session and I was probably just like fucking like losing it or whatever. And she was like, why can't you just be here? Don't do anything. You don't have to do it. Just be alive. Just like be. And it just stuck with me so hard. Mm-hmm. So then I had started making these Just Be t-shirts. I was still calling everything a Moderately Good podcast, but I'm making these Just Be t-shirts. And then one day it just hit me. I was like, my coaching should be called Just Be. It's not Life Moderated. I wasn't even using it. Like it wasn't even like, it didn't even speak to being me at all. Like it wasn't a connected idea. Mm-hmm. So I changed everything to Just Be. And then shortly after that, I was like, well, my podcast kind of sometimes is my coaching. It is the way I coach and the way I talk and the way I think. So now the podcast name doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And someone had actually challenged me on it a year before that. And he was like, why do you call it a Moderately Good podcast? I told him the reason. He goes, it doesn't explain what you do. And at that moment, I was like, well, I can't think of anything better to make it so like it has to be this. There's nothing that's hitting me that hard. Mm-hmm. But then the idea that my coaching would become Just Be, and then at some point, someone or at some conversation, somebody said, Just Be with Scottie G. And as soon as they said that, I was like, that's it. I went to all the people that I always bounce shit off of, and I go, which name? And they go, just be Scottie G. And I just changed the whole thing, like almost overnight. And I had to go back and rebrand everything. And it was it's like starting something brand new. It was so overwhelming. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, there's like 4 different social channels and everything is called this. Can I get all the names on everything? I have to make new thumbnails for everything. I have to rename all the episodes. I had to do all this stuff. And I was just like, just start. So I did. I just started. And at some point I kind of caught a rhythm. God, everything changed, everything aligned, and then it all crescended into this one episode, which, I don't believe it. Like, I believe the universe tells us a lot of stuff if you pay attention. Some of it is probably irrelevant, but a lot of stuff is relevant. And then it's irrelevant as you want to make it. The last episode of a Moderately Good podcast was episode 76. That was the year I was born. The next episode was the spinoff of the podcast, which was a Moderately Good podcast presents Just Be with such and such. And so I was like, it transitions right here. I switch everything just here. I make that Just Be with Scottie G. Boom, done. And everything just came, it went right where I was supposed to be. And so I was like, it feels like a no-brainer. It feels like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. We gotta get this.
It feels right.
We gotta get this sun off of you.
Is the sun on me?
Yeah, you see?
Oh, without the green.
All right, what was the next question?
All right.
What's the next question?
So to cap this off here.
Because we had to move to get out of the sun.
Yeah. It's great though. The sun feels good.
Well, you know what? Like, I really say who cares? The light here is like really pretty good. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you were getting lit up over there. If you watch the video, you would see that like it was just slowly burning a hole in his chest. All right, so what do you got?
All right, so my last question, and this comes from me as a father and an entrepreneur. You are super creative. You have all these ideas, and you follow through as well. So you're talking about something you're about to launch, the TikTok, and you're doing the podcast, and you're doing your coaching, and all that. The time that it takes to fit in and to start it and to get it going. Where do you find the energy and the time to do that around balance with being a dad, being Scottie G and feeding yourself, being the boyfriend that you are? I
think, one, I had to go, if I'm dedicating, 4 hours to my daughter a day, if I'm dedicating a couple of hours to my partner, work, sleep, blah, 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 then I should dedicate a couple hours to myself. I really had to try to find a way to remove the guilt about taking time for myself and realizing that's part. I had to schedule it. And I also had to make sacrifices on other stuff, right? So when my friends are on social media and they're like, what Netflix stuff should we watch? Or I just got there binging 15 movies and I need something new to watch. I don't watch TV. I don't watch Netflix. I pretty much only watch live event type things. So sporting event, things that are live that you have to be present for to watch at that moment maybe.
Right.
But I don't watch, every once in a while I'll watch I watch a documentary or something like that I'm really interested in and stuff. And I'll do that while I'm eating dinner. I'm not doing that when I go to bed. I have a set bedtime. I get it at the same time every day. The big thing that really changed for me is I started treating every day as a day, not as this is Monday and this is Tuesday and this is Wednesday, as in Sunday is the same day as Wednesday. Tuesday is the same day as Saturday. I get up roughly the same time every day. I try to have the same things that make me good every day. And then it changes, right? So on a Saturday, maybe there's a home UT football game. So on that Saturday, I'm going to maybe do my work, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do the things to take care of myself. I'm going to go to that football game. And then the rest of the afternoon goes to my daughter. But that's just another version of my everyday. I just replaced work with the football game.
Yep.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still got up at the same time that I always get up, and I still did all the things that I needed to do, like in that day. And so that didn't matter if it was Tuesday or Sunday, you know, and that made my workouts a lot more consistent. Because it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing, like, not that I did this before, but like I'm doing chest on Mondays and tries on Tuesdays or whatever else, but that kind of stuff. Or it's not like, oh, Sunday's a rest day and I eat like shit day.
Right.
It's like, well, Sunday, I treat it like every other day. And so like on every other day, I don't necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? Deprive myself of like sweets and things.
Right.
Like I have a little bit like every day. So like on Sunday, I don't like just go like, oh, like I'm just gonna throw my whole diet in the trash can. You know what I mean? I do the same healthy day that I normally do to start off my day. And then maybe we have a bad meal for dinner. You know what I mean? But then I'm not totally trashing my body on Sunday in a sense of like, I'm not moving, I'm eating poorly, probably not hydrating myself. So just treating it like every other day. And also let me point out that I have the luxury of it being that way because of my job. Some people work a Monday through Friday job. They have almost no choice to look at it like every day. But also, like most people that have a Monday through Friday job, at some point on Friday, they maybe get drunk or relax or blah, blah, blah. They're going to sleep in on Saturday. They're not going to do shit on Sunday. And they're going to try to get ready for work on Monday. If those days, I think, were treated a little bit differently, you probably wouldn't feel so bad going back on work on Monday. You probably have more energy during the week to do stuff.
Right.
But in your mind, you're giving this pass to this day and this excuse to this day and reasoning for this on this day when they're days. You know what I mean? Like, do you think like an old cowboy West days, like, you know, they probably went to church on Sundays, but probably every day people were cattle rustling.
Right.
Every day people were robbing banks. It wasn't like they picked, you know what I mean? And like, you know, and the cavemen, they were thinking like, ooh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
We'll go to a cave, get drunk. You know what I mean? Like they were just, every day was the same day.
Right.
And so somewhere along the way, we kind of lost that. And I had a guy come on my podcast that he talked about that. He talked about that every day should be treated the same day. And then once I started doing that, it just changed everything for me. So like, I think the original question was like, how to be my best dad. Is that what
it's like time and energy to.
So when I do all those things, then I can organize it in a way that I make time for my daughter, I make time for my girlfriend, I make time for the podcast, I make time for work, I make time for myself. I make the time. You know, so that means that the podcast gets worked on from 9 to 10 almost every single night after my daughter goes to bed. And oh, by the way, if she has like 3 bad nights in a row, doesn't go to bed till late, maybe she's sick, blah, 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 podcast doesn't get worked on. But then that starts to kind of itch at me. And I start to get itchy about like, because in this weird way of something I'm doing to be creative, I can also get behind. And I don't want to get behind.
Right. Because then it becomes more work. It
becomes more work and it's less creative, you know, so like there's importance of that. But it's also the same thing. In a similar way, it's like making the time for myself guilt-free and making time for the podcast, guilt-free for the podcast. You know what I mean? Of like that it can do and grow as it needs to. You know what I mean? Without feeling like it needs to be something or do something or it's taken away from something else.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
That makes 100% sense.
But I think that, you know, that's how I feel a lot about Lucy, my daughter. That's how I feel about my relationship. You know, like this is not something that I just apply to this one thing. It's like how I apply it to my entire life.
Yeah.
Is like that. Because
so every component of your life gets that same philosophy.
Yeah, I get why someone, if we're using this term of like different philosophies for different things, I get why somebody would do that. But in my mind, that doesn't promote any consistency in your life. And where you're really going to get it going and running and feel like that you can kind of live through things is with consistency and security in that way. But most people never get anywhere close to consistent or secure.
Right.
In themselves or even in their lives. It's just interesting to get old. It's interesting to get old.
I'm avoiding it.
Me too. It's interesting. Here's the thing you can't avoid in getting older. My older, my more mature clients get upset maybe when I say the word old. So there's things about getting mature that you can't avoid. Yeah. And as much as you avoid them, it's just it's the time you spend on the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you make it so far in a certain way, hopefully you've learned a certain amount of things. Some people don't, a lot of people do, but you can't understand it until you get there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how I feel about this is an example, and I don't want to get into anything, but politics. I think if you're going to run for president, you should at least be 45 years old minimum. Mm-hmm. Just because.
You know there is a rule, right? You know how old you have to be to run for president?
How?
35. So I'm of age now. But if anyone's looking to vote for a write-in, I don't want the job, so don't vote for me.
But I remember being 35. Mm-hmm. 35 is too young.
I'm not ready to run the country.
I don't give I don't give a shit how what school you went to and how smart you are and how much work you've done. Mm-hmm. There's a certain part, in my opinion, there's a certain part of your life that you can't quantify in those kinds of ways, and it just takes years. Mm-hmm. So in 10 years from now, you are, in my opinion, you are qualified.
Mm-hmm. But no one that age, even 45, runs for president.
No.
I feel I don't know. I would have to look at history, but I feel like everyone's at 60.
So here's my other thing. I also think it should be capped at about 65.
Ooh.
Because I have had mature clients. And I've had a client mature so much he passed away, right? R.I.P. Dave, one of my favorite and best clients, right? And what I learned is no matter how sharp you are, no matter how good you are, no matter how much you take care of your health, and somewhere between 65 and 75, your cognitive skills slip on some level. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to you. It happens to almost everybody. Now, some people are way better than others, but there is just a level of that slip. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're running a country, we just don't need to we don't just need to put our money on that slip happening.
Right.
Maybe you're better than everybody else, but do we really need to chance it? Right. We know it's not happening at 65. Mm-hmm. So let's just stop there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's a good run. That means you can only be in office for 20 years, maybe. And maybe we apply this to every role of everything, right? So that people aren't in forever. Right. So your term of service is 20 years if you get in right then. But if you don't, well, I guess it's going to be shorter, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that, I don't want to do anything political. They always talk about, let's get the young people involved. Well, why is it always old people doing it? If we're working so hard to get young people involved, where are they? Are we just getting rid of them as we get them? Are they just turning old and as soon as they get the job? What's going on?
The job ages you.
Yeah, really quickly.
Yeah.
Really quickly, apparently.
But if we talk about this just real quick, in that, I heard you talking to Toby earlier about the balance within it, right? So if we have balance, you're talking about the age within it, but it's not if someone is slipping, we're meant to have balance with the three branches, right, of our government.
Right.
But we can tackle that in the executive branch if there was more balance, which in Hamilton, she mentioned the play Hamilton. And we said we'd chat GPTs or something. I don't know if we have yet. But when did it change that when the person you run against, whoever won, became the president, whoever lost was the vice president? I think you automatically have balance.
She looked it up. It was there were, in the beginning of our, apparently in the beginning of our country, two people would run for president. The person that lost would become the VP. Mm-hmm. And that happened for the first four terms. And then it somehow went away. And I don't know how it went away.
So it probably doesn't work if it got gone that quick.
I don't know if it doesn't work as much as it was probably a lot harder. And when we talk about like what we want to do as like people, a lot of times we just skate to what's easy.
Yeah.
You know, and in a political system, it probably wasn't benefiting the people that were participating in the way that they wanted.
Right.
Because, you know, if you look at our political system now, it's benefiting a lot of people in a really interesting way. Mm-hmm. And that probably started to happen on some level. And to make that sure up, it's like, well, you know, you can't have cross-party lines. You know what I mean? But what do I know?
Yeah.
I wasn't even alive. We're talking about like, it's like, what, like
A long time ago.
like 18 something another.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My man, thank you, BJ. I appreciate you, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the trip.
Yeah.